couple minutes late because after I sat down, I remembered they have this amazing towel here. I'm staying at one of my favorite hotels in the world, a really beautiful place, and they have this towel that says, "Use me to clean anything. Úsame para limpiar cualquier cosa." And I always find it funny to see because I know something that we talk about all the time here on Brain Tech Support Live is that we don't want to try to clean away human experiences, thoughts and feelings and physical sensations. But I know that people are often looking for something that will clean away all of the human experiences so that they can become like rocks. And apparently that's what this towel will do for you. So I know sometimes people are trying to find like special supplements or special compulsions, special rituals, special types of meditation that will clean away human experiences, but you're looking in the wrong places. You need a towel that can, you can just, maybe you stick it through your ear and then you just scrub your mind, or you just stick a finger through a hole in your head and you clean away. So if anybody needs that, the towel is here. We may come to that during today's live stream, but hopefully nobody's going to be asking for the towel to clean away human experiences, because what we explore on Brain Tech Support Live are the skills to have more human experiences while doing the things we want to do in life. So whether that's terrible intrusive thoughts or weird physical sensations, depersonalization, derealization, really, really sad feelings, really, really extremely happy feelings, anxiety, panic attacks, voices, the brain just throwing up images, saying stuff, difficult things happening around us. We want to have these experiences. We want to have human experiences and do more of what we care about in life. So that's what we focus on in general when we're looking at mental health and fitness skills. What do we want to grow and build while having those kinds of experiences? A lot of times when people are say, struggling with compulsions, and this is whether it's a mental compulsion or a physical compulsion, there's some kind of experience that we're trying to avoid. But in trying to avoid that experience and trying to clean it away, we tend to create more of it. So like one of the most common fears that will come up is the fear of not living our lives, right? The fear of losing control and not being ourselves. But then if we go and spend a whole bunch of time and energy, online, looking up ways to get rid of thoughts or ways to solve a fear, or what's the right way to tackle a fear of not living our lives, we've already given up control of our lives, right? There's a fear there and we went, oh no, I've got to solve this fear and get rid of it. But the fear was that we wouldn't be living our lives. And now what have we done? We've given up control of our lives to some random brain stuff. So keep that in mind too today as we explore, because we want the focus to be on living our lives, not like, oh, I've got to go clean my brain and then I have permission to live my life. No, like that is the very thing we're afraid of. Dylan, good morning. And Dylan, of course, is longtime community member and is helping manage the chat on the live stream. So Dylan, thank you so much. And Emil, good morning to you as well. Let's see, you asked a question here. You said, some of my OCD thoughts, feelings, and urges are back. Oh, it's like a sequel. I've noticed that I've been engaging in some old compulsions like checking and reassurance. What advice would you give to stop these behaviors and let the feelings be there without engaging? How to live with your values with fear being there? So Emil, I'd be curious. What I always ask there is, what's getting you hooked back into the compulsions? It can really help to see. So maybe one reframe that I'd suggest there, like you said that the thoughts, feelings, and OCD thoughts, feelings, and urges are back. It really helped me to recognize that there are no OCD thoughts, feelings, and urges. OCD is only the reactions that we practice around experiences. So when we recognize that, then we can look at not doing those compulsions. Because there's nothing wrong with those experiences be there. We can absolutely look at maybe there are some fears that you want to control, and so the brain is giving you an opportunity to control those, but OCD is still only in the reactions. If we're not doing that checking and checking, whether it's checking feelings, checking stuff online, or checking for reassurance, if we're not doing that checking, then there's no issue with that stuff coming up. So right now, what hooks you back into those compulsions? Why do you check? And then I would ask you, how would you help yourself not get caught up in those compulsions? If we're not doing the compulsions, we're already letting the thoughts be there. So you asked about not engaging with them. Yeah, we don't do the checking for reassurance. But yeah, why do you check right now? Mud, good afternoon. Andy, thanks for stopping by. Andy, thanks for being a member as well. I really appreciate it. You said, I've been doing much better with my mental fitness thanks to you and your work. Oh, no, I'm glad you're doing all of the work there. So congratulations on that. It's great to hear. You said, I've always thought I had to resolve the past, now working to just leave it behind and live. Andy, that's fantastic. And I think you bring up something really important there, Andy. This was something I've been talking about with people this weekend. Quite often, we're doing compulsions around real things that happened in the past. So often something we did that maybe we feel bad about. And yeah, it's not like a subjective thing. We're just like, this thing in the past, I said something terrible. I was really mean to somebody. I did something I didn't want to do. I did some compulsions, even though I knew they were compulsions, and they created all sorts of problems. Doesn't matter, whatever. We sometimes look for, speaking of the towel to clean away feelings, we sometimes look for a way to process the past. And what we're really looking there for, though, is that we want to clean away the past and only feel good about the past. And so we're really thinking of processing the past as though we're making processed cheese or bologna or something like that, like processed meat made of, I don't know, like pig sphincters. That's sometimes how we're approaching this idea of processing the past. But we're just practicing a bunch of compulsions there. It's okay if we feel bad about something in the past. Yeah. Of course, the brain is going to throw up something and we go, yeah, like I don't like that I did that. And I recognize in that dislike of something in the past, I recognize what I value and care about doing in the present. I am not a time-traveling janitor. I am not going to travel into the past to clean something. Leave that to the Time-Traveling Janitors Guild. Instead, I'm going to recognize when I touch that experience from the past. Just a second, my microphone went on a time-traveling trip. I'm going to recognize when that memory of something from the past pops up, I'm going to recognize in that pain what I care about. And I'm going to pivot to giving what I value in the present. And we can have both. We can both feel that, yeah, I don't like that thing in the past. And I'm going to celebrate what I can give in the present and what I value. That's something we can probably all explore this week. So Andy, thanks for sharing that. And again, yeah, thanks for being a member on the subscriber channel here on YouTube. Adam, Abraham, thank you so much for joining. I hope you're doing well too. Emil, de nada. Chris, good morning. Robert, so you asked there, how do personality disorders like narcissistic personality disorder fit into your mental health framework? I get it that we should act regardless of our emotions, but what if a person can't love and be? So I wouldn't agree that we act regardless of our emotions. Emotions are amazing things we can celebrate. And like I was just talking about, we may notice in pain what we really care about. It's not about disregarding emotions, but our perception and reaction and interpretation of emotions in the past may have been really unhelpful to us, may have been really unhealthy in our lives. So yeah, emotions are amazing. Like I would say a huge advantage actually of cutting out compulsions, taking care of my mental health and fitness is now that I can have emotions. Because in the past, I had to try to avoid them because I had all sorts of unhelpful reactions and compulsions linked to emotions. So in many ways, we're changing what we do with them. And this relates to personality disorders, as you mentioned, because that's the same issue there. Is that, for instance, somebody notices an uncertainty, notices some anxiety, and they lash out or they try to control another person because of experiences typically in their past. They learn that's what you should do in a situation like that. If I'm threatened, so narcissistic personality disorder, if I'm threatened, I'm going to, do this following action that's going to hurt somebody else. Same with borderline personality disorder. I find borderline personality disorder and OCD, if you look at when a person diagnosed with BPD will react, it's often the same stuff that somebody with OCD will react to. But if somebody has BPD, they're probably going to react externally. And if somebody has OCD, they're probably going to react internally. That's not a 100% generalization. But I would say, yeah, if you look at what people are doing, we're all just reacting to uncertainties in different ways. We pick up different diagnoses based on how we react to those uncertainties. But yeah, we can all make changes around those. And I see, yeah, Robert, you had an extension to that question. You said, how should they navigate interpersonal relationships? But yeah, same for all of us, because you look at somebody, right, with OCD, navigating an interpersonal relationship, they might be just, rather than judging and proactively kind of hurting somebody else, they might be avoiding relationships because like, oh, what if I get rejected? What if they don't like me? They might be judging themselves. It's regardless of which acronym we pick up in the acronym lottery, we're going to now, in building mental health and fitness skills, look at the actions that are useful to us, look at what we want to give to others and what we want to give to ourselves. Andy, yeah, he said, yes, it helped me a lot to realize that it's just cleaning compulsions in another form, totally. I can say I'm not happy with something previously, but it can stay there and it doesn't have to affect the now. Yeah, great description there, Andy. Yeah, it's really great to notice, right? Like we can, if we think of like integrating the past, yeah, we can have a past. It doesn't mean it has to be perfect or clean or that we have to like it or not. Yeah, it can be there and we can create and grow things now. Blooper, hello, thanks for stopping by. Oh, Mud, you said your ats don't work. Yeah, they don't look linked. I don't know. YouTube's been making a lot of changes, right? Like even we have this like scoreboard and stuff now. We can see your ats, Mud. Yeah, and you have a crown. Yeah. Blooper, I'm well, thank you. Ursa said, I'm dating someone and I'm not sure if I'm really attracted to them or not. I know I need to follow my values, but sometimes I'm feeling disgusted when kissing them. I don't want to lead them. Any advice? I mean, no, like so often, it's like we're expecting these really certain, I don't know, like life to fit into these really certain boxes. But we're learning and exploring and living. And so with dating too, we might be going on a date, and rather than approaching it as like, I've got to have this kind of answer, or I've got to know something, because I've got to take the complexity of life and fit it into this box. Yeah, what if dating is about being curious? Dating is about exploring. And yeah, you won't know. There might be some situations where you say, oh, I really like this, and other situations where you say, I really don't like this. Yeah, there's not going to be a simple answer there. And so with things like dating, yeah, I always recommend, yeah, people just look at a question like, what do I want to give? What do you want to give to yourself? What do you want to give to the other person? And being open and curious. And yeah, you may say, oh, I don't want to give anything else to this relationship. It's not like leading somebody on. Sometimes people start obsessing about the fear of hurting the other person, but that's also putting this expectation on you to control somebody else's experience, to get some kind of certain answer. But life is much messier and more uncertain than that. So yeah, as you explore dating, what do you want to give to yourself? What do you want to give to others? Chris Slay is the math dragon. Yeah, you said a while ago, you mentioned practicing being focused while restful. Can you elaborate on this? I find trying to focus for long periods of time exhausting and I start to get headaches. Yeah, this is a really, I'd say, valuable area for me to explore. Probably like a lot of you, I associated focus and just kind of doing anything with stress. That I needed to kind of be stressed to create or produce or do anything. That also can lead to us doing lots of procrastination because we require this kind of bad feeling in order to work. Again, linked to this idea of how we connect actions to emotions. So it's like, to do good work, I must feel stressed, I must feel bad. And I realized, okay, that's not helpful. That wasn't helpful. But then also, I recognized that because I associated doing anything with stress, that also the moment I had any chance to relax, I would just kind of be so tired and exhausted. So on my meditation journey, it was very useful to explore deep relaxation meditation. The Plum Village app has some phenomenal deep relaxation guided meditations. And while doing that, practice being focused, so holding my attention in one place, but not in a forceful way, in a restful way. So more like just resting my attention, recognizing that actually when my mind and I would wander off and think about things and control things, that was me doing a lot of extra work. So what if I got lazy and just did one thing? Just rested my mind in one place. I'll describe it like feeling like holding a door closed, just with the pressure of one finger on the door, but still immovable. Nothing can open that door. But I'm not forcing it, I'm simply resting there. And so when I'm working with coaching clients on this, the way I'll often suggest they explore this is to first try out some of the Plum Village guided meditations around deep relaxation. There's one that's 45 minutes long with a cello. You can find it on YouTube. You just type deep relaxation cello, Plum Village. First step, practice doing that meditation, resting completely, but not falling asleep. So first we want to learn how to rest, be totally relaxed, but stay awake. So combining that rest, and focus. Then the next step of the exercise is to do a meditation like that without falling asleep. So when you can do it without falling asleep, and immediately after, have some kind of piece of work that you would typically see as like important. So maybe something that other people are going to see that often you would attach a lot of importance to. Do the deep relaxation meditation, and then go and do the important work and bring that relaxed approach along with you. You don't need to have some kind of pressure and stress on yourself. You can use values around the work to identify what you're going to do so that you can do that work well without forcing this kind of pressure and heavy weight on top of yourself. Okay, so there's an exercise people maybe could try out this week. Yeah, have fun with it, Chris. Simkorosi. You said, how do I maintain good mental health if with time when I feel good, I just stop doing healthy practices? He said, in relapse right now. Oh, well, Simkorosi, I hope you're being kind to yourself. Yeah, this is one of the reasons we talk about things like values and making them just things we do, and also not basing our mental health and fitness work around a feeling. Because exactly as you've noticed, and this is even why I was talking about stress just a moment ago around doing work. If we only do good work when we have a bad feeling, we make bad feelings necessary, we make relapse necessary. It's so natural that we'll relapse if we only do healthy practices when we are struggling. So we have to make them something that's consistent, separate from struggling, or else we'll just keep going back again and again and again. What are actions that you would value doing in your life with any thought or feeling? So if you feel bad, you're going to do these actions you value. If you feel good, you're going to do these actions you value. Because they're not about managing feelings or thoughts or whatever. They're simply about what you want to give to yourself and give to the world. Andy, thank you so much for the generous donation. Andy, yeah, you're part of the membership channel here on YouTube, and I really appreciate your donation. You left a message here. You said, thank you for your great advice. It has really helped me move forwards in life. I still get caught up sometimes in the thoughts my mind throws about, but I'm learning to leave that alone and return to my values. Thank you. Andy, that's fantastic to hear. No, congratulations to you. You're taking these skills and really seeing how to apply them in your life. So that's phenomenal to see. Thanks for sharing that. Karen, you said, when my son moves around in the bed a lot, I can't sleep and I get anxious. What should I do? I don't want to be tired and maybe not being able to sleep for weeks. Years ago, I couldn't sleep. It's scary. So there's a couple things I look at. I wouldn't have some piece of advice based on what you shared there, but there's a couple things I'd look at. One, sleep compulsions and obsessions come up a lot. Actually, on the YouTube membership channel 2 weeks ago, we were exploring a series just on obsessions about sleep. Really, really common because, see, it's a thing we want to control because we fear, oh, if I don't sleep, bad things are going to happen. And it's uncertain, so the brain loves to latch onto it. But then also, so yeah, one, I'd be curious, just looking at that fear, like, what are your fears around sleep? But then you also mentioned, if your son moves around, I get anxious. So I'd be really curious about, like, what do you get anxious about? Is it about sleep? That, oh no, this is going to disturb my sleep, and then some bad thing is going to happen? If it's just all about that fear of not sleeping and some bad thing happening, it's the same as any other fear that we get caught up in, right? There's an uncertainty there that, oh no, there's this thing I don't control. If I don't control it, this bad thing is going to happen to me. And then we just start doing the compulsions. So yeah, depending on what the fear is there's going to be a couple of different things you can explore. Blooper. It said, every time I stop a compulsion and focus on what I'm doing, I end up doing the compulsion a few seconds later because the fear is too much. How can I tackle this? Yeah, Blooper, what do you mean? How can I tackle this? Because the thing I'd be curious about, you phrased it as, I end up doing the compulsion. So are you in control of the things you do, or do they just happen to you? What if you don't have to do that compulsion? Yeah, and Ursa, so talking about the relationship again, you said, yeah, I guess I just want certainty that I'm really attracted to them. And then with chasing all that certainty, I get all sorts of confusing feelings. It's hard to navigate such relationship when I used to believe that that with the right person, there should be no doubts. Yes, you see that right there. That kind of goal, with the right person, there should be absolute certainty and no doubts. That kind of perspective or belief guarantees uncertainty and doubts. It's just like saying, if I'm good, then I'll feel clean. But then we're doing all this checking and do I feel clean? And we're also thinking, if I feel clean, then I'm good. And of course, so then we always feel contaminated. And then we say, oh, then I'm not good, I'm not right, and so on. Yeah, anytime we're looking for a clean feeling and certainty, we're just going to create more of the opposite. Louisa, you said, I'm currently reading You're Not a Rock. Thank you very much. You said, so far, very impressed. Oh, it all goes downhill in the second half, but thank you for being impressed so far. If I had a chance, I would ask you a million questions. Oh, thank you so much. Louisa, thank you for the kind words and thank you for reading. Absolutely, feel free to ask any questions. You can always ask questions in our YouTube videos. You can email me. There's a contact form on my website or through Instagram. So yeah, I'm always happy to answer questions as people are doing the exercises from the book. Yeah, so have fun with the exercises. Mud, I see on the leaderboard and these crowns, there's so much expectation that comes with being just randomly assigned to be royalty. Valerio said, I'm confused because I have a hard time understanding if what I'm doing is a compulsion around OCD or if it's genuine. Yeah, so I actually find that is an example of a compulsion. And so rather than going, trying to fit these things in these boxes, like this is genuine and this is OCD, I find it useful to see that pattern is going to get us into a lot of struggle. So we can actually move away from like labeling something as OCD or genuine or real, rational, irrational. Just look at what's useful to us. And so if we're trying to fit the complexity of life into these very certain rigid boxes, that's just going to create a lot of problems. Or like we were just talking about with relationships, if we're saying, I must have no doubts in a relationship, well, then we're going to create a lot of doubts. Whether we label that as OCD or not, irregardless of that, yeah, if we're trying to chase like certainty and control, we just create a lot of uncertainty and a lack of control. Sanjay, you said, suggest a beginner mental fitness exercise. So the great thing about mental fitness, just like physical fitness, is that your beginner exercise is also your advanced exercise. Right? If I have a beginner exercise in the gym, I'm going to lift weights, but the weight might be lighter. If I have an advanced exercise in the gym, then I'm probably just on Instagram, like taking photos of my abs in the mirror or something like that, which I guess is the advanced exercise. But yeah, you could do that at the beginning too. So same with mental fitness. We're going to be cutting out compulsions. So the reason I bring this up is because often people will reach out looking for some kind of beginning exercise that they hope is going to make it feel easy to then cut out the compulsions. But no, that's not going to happen. That's like saying like, hey, can you tell me a beginner weightlifting exercise so that I'll feel good when I start lifting weights? But no, you are gonna lift the weights and it's gonna be sweaty and you're gonna feel kind of weird things and you're gonna drop the weights. And that's great. So yeah, what's the compulsion you wanna start cutting out and practicing with so you can have some kind of sweaty workout? Tablet gaming, you said anxiety, how to tackle. There's nothing wrong with anxiety. So we don't have to tackle it. The trying to tackle it, to try to like get rid of it, is the problem. The more we try to clean away anxiety with our towel for cleaning away anything, the more anxiety we create. So you could look at anxiety like the weights in the gym. What we actually want to do is practice having more anxiety while doing things that we care about in life. So yeah, right now, if there's anything you avoid because you don't want to experience anxiety, that's actually the stuff to start doing more of. Winter Dream 279. Yeah, he said, I often feel the urge to constantly fix myself, like my psyche, mindset, etc. Yeah, it's really common. It helps so much to see ourselves as whole and complete. Nothing to fix. We are not holes that we need to fill in. If we're approaching ourselves as this problem to fix, we are basically gaslighting ourselves because we are complete, we are whole. And so when we start saying, oh no, this isn't done, this isn't ready, this isn't right, I've got to go fix it, we're gaslighting our brains. And then our brain just starts to judge our totally normal self, our totally wonderful selves as wrong. Because the brain's going, oh, like this seems great, but this person keeps saying it's wrong. So, okay, I guess it's wrong. That's how we develop, we could look at what we often do around our mindset as the same as body dysmorphic disorder. With body dysmorphic disorder, we're looking at ourselves and then rather than going, I like that, we're going, oh, that's wrong, I've got to fix it. And then the brain starts to believe that it's wrong. When we're doing that with our emotions, with our identity, our psyche, it creates the same issue. We're going, oh no, that's not right. Let's go fix it. If we keep telling the brain we're not right and we got to fix it, it might start to believe us. So we can all join Nothing to Fix Club. This is a great moment to mention the Mental Fitness Discord server. So we have this wonderful community on the Mental Fitness Discord server of people supporting each other and doing more of the things they want to do in life. It is a totally free community, but it is private. And we do that to help maintain the values and the supportive community. But if you'd like to join and share about your adventures, support others in their adventures, send me a message on Instagram or through the contact form on my website. Nothing to Fix Club is a club. I believe Nothing to Fix Club started on the Mental Fitness Discord server. And that is specifically for this reason, so we can really celebrate, not being problems to fix. So yeah, if you want to join the Mental Fitness Discord server and join Nothing to Fix Club, shoot me a message and we'll get you connected. There are incredible perks to joining Nothing to Fix Club. Because one, you don't have to fix anything anymore, and also there's a like just beautiful members bathroom. Yeah, the bidet is amazing. Sinkorosi. You said, I have troubles with meditation. I understand it will be really useful to me, but I just can't focus myself to do at least 10 minutes a day. Should I just include it with discipline on an everyday basis? No, it sounded like you might be approaching meditation in a way that's not so helpful. But also, 10 minutes is really tough. And if you find 10 minutes tough, this may sound counterintuitive at first, but go longer. It's totally normal because of the ways we live that we're just running the machines in our head constantly. And so if we sit down for 10 minutes after, who knows, 10 hours of spinning the machines in our heads, there are very few humans with the skills to make the brain shut up in 10 minutes, to make it even start to rest a little. So I always tell people when you're meditating, to even, especially as a beginner, take the first 10 minutes to actually just practice trying to get the brain to sit down with you. And it's completely normal that that will be a struggle because you're probably fighting against so much practice of compulsions for hours. There's going to be a warm up, just like if we went running. Like if we were sitting at a desk all day and then we're like, okay, I'm going to go run. Your first 10 minutes of running might feel terrible. In fact, you might not start running right away. You might do 10 minutes of warming up. That can be really valuable to approach with or do the same with meditation. There is on the Mental Fitness Discord server, and I've been so just amazed and happy for this. There is a phenomenal group of volunteer meditation leaders. So I'm not even sure of the number of days, but it's really incredible for a meditation practice and group. There's at least 5 meditation sits during the week. Even Dylan might know. Dylan is leading a meditation sit on the Mental Fitness Discord server as well now too. That can be a great group to connect with. Yeah, if you find yourself struggling with meditation, there are multiple sits throughout the week of different lengths, and then everybody discusses their sit afterwards. Chris Slays the Math Dragon said, "What are your thoughts on having goals? For so long, my fuel was having a big goal to chase, and I've been bouncing around looking for something new, but I can never be consistent with anything." I think goals are really important. Like even when we're struggling with compulsions, we're also practicing goals. Like we may have a goal that's really unhealthy. Like my goal is to get rid of anxiety. And so then we just end up having more and more anxiety. We tend to be pretty consistent with goals. If you notice there are particular types of goals that you're struggling with, it could be useful to consider that you actually do have some other goals that you're chasing instead. So for instance, we may actually have a goal to feel good. And we haven't really set it intentionally, but we end up dropping some other goals because they start to not feel good. And we have really put an emphasis on this other feeling or this other goal. Like, oh, I should always feel good, for instance. Yeah, so it could be interesting to explore that you do have goals, but right now, are you valuing other goals over things that would actually make you happier in the long term? But also, I find it helpful to whenever, maybe we do have some big goal, but actually translate it into small goals today and just celebrate the small goals. Because if we're moving towards a big goal, but we're kind of not actually accomplishing it right now, then we tend to feel like, I'm not really reaching that big far off goal. So I don't know, I'm just gonna go do something else today. So whatever the big goal is, can you translate it into an action you do today and make today's action just the ultimate destination? So in You Are Not a Rock, in the Mind workout, I describe this as keeping success close. So how can you make success something you do today? My tea is, maybe on the camera it's not as green. In person, this looks really green. It's like iridescent green. So I feel that now my body inside is totally green with like magical mountain herbs. Geese said, how do I balance resting with taking action when burned out? I want to move forward with life, but I'm terrible at taking rest because of constant rumination of needing to do stuff. Yeah, so what I would look at instead, what I find way more useful, and this is for everybody, is because we want to break that pattern of waiting for the bad experience to then take care of ourselves. So rest is much more beneficial when it's proactive. We don't want to make rest a reward for burnout. Just like we don't want to make healthy activities in life or doing actions we value a reward for relapse. So what would it be like to start to rest before you feel like you need it? Simply because rest is actually a beneficial practice to doing even more and creating even more. So just like with physical fitness, we don't want to wait for injury or burnout and then go, oh, I think you better rest. Any kind of workout program is going to have the rest already in it. And we're actually going to rest even though we feel like we have more energy to lift more. But that's when the injuries happen, that's when burnout happens. So yeah, for sustainably creating lots of amazing things, it's important that we rest proactively, not reactively. Blooper. So I do the compulsions because I'm too scared of bad things happening if I don't do the compulsions. I get that I have to not do them, but the risk is too much. How do I force myself to do it? I guess, well, yeah, so I would say the risk, it really helped me with cutting out compulsions to recognize that the risk was not too much because doing the compulsions was choosing to damage my health and cause problems in my life. So that's not a risk, that was for certain. Right? So when we choose the compulsions as a reaction to a possibility, we are choosing to certainly cause damage and problems. So if we care about not causing all this kind of destruction, then it does not make sense to choose the compulsions. Because that, choosing them, is a far greater risk. Louisa, yeah, you said, oh, I'm glad you smiled and feel supported. You're welcome. You said, how much would you say OCD affects your life now? Tired of hearing it's chronic. Yeah, like it's just not. I don't even, like when somebody says OCD is chronic, I mean, like a simple question I would have for them is how and why. Like that's pure belief, not based on science, just I think it's chronic. Now, absolutely, depending on how we define chronic. If by chronic, we just mean that somebody may struggle with it, and we're not saying that there's something wrong in them, but just like, yeah, it's a thing somebody struggles with. Yeah, then I can see using that term. Yeah, it still wouldn't apply to me. There's tons of people who leave it behind. And I think that's phenomenal. And there's also no reason that when somebody leaves these struggles behind, that they have to, I don't know, like explain that, talk about that, keep participating in communities focused around the struggle. So I think it's really important that, yeah, we can equip people with the tools to live their lives and they can go and do that. So yeah, there's zero. Like it doesn't, even the idea when you'll see somebody say online, oh, it's like chronic and it could come back or something like that. I don't even understand how that could happen now because it would require me to start doing a whole bunch of compulsions. And so as we were just talking there with Blooper, that would be the same as saying to me that hitting yourself in the face with a frying pan is chronic and it can always come back. Absolutely. I could go into the kitchen and get the frying pan and hit myself in the face with it. But why would you do that once you understand the damage and the struggle that choosing the compulsions causes? So yeah, OCD is not a part of my life at all. Yeah, things are great. I think, yeah, sometimes there's, I feel like I want to share more about how, yeah, just excellent or amazing life is. Just, you know, doing actions we value, practicing having human experiences. But also, a lot of the times, yeah, I like have no impulse to like record on video a lot of that stuff. I really enjoy now getting to go on with my life. Yeah, I really enjoy not having to spend, like, I used to spend so much time on compulsions. I used to be so, like, so many of the compulsions were so separated from reality. So yeah, being able to live my life now is fantastic. And I don't always get to share all of the elements of that because I'm off living it. But yeah, there's no gimmick to this. Like, there's no, yeah, it's like not a sales pitch. I started creating content because yeah, I thought it was so weird that you couldn't find information about leaving this stuff behind, uh, and it's totally doable. Last week, I was on a hike, one of the most challenging hikes I've ever done in the mountains before. Yeah, and even like I notice a couple things that are amazing about not struggling with OCD and mental illness anymore. Like when I go off on the trip, I used to have so many compulsions before leaving on a trip or something like that, and now I can just yeah, just I can rest well before I go on a trip. I can just yeah pack things up and head off into the mountains. But then when I'm up there, one of the most amazing practices that I enjoy now is that I can, you know, walk for 20 kilometers, you know, hike through the mountains. It's really challenging, like up really high, and I'm not ruminating the whole way. Whereas in the past, I would have just done compulsions in my head the whole time and not actually have been in nature. And so it's yeah, a really special, you know, a practice I'm really grateful for. That yeah, I can go on a walk in nature and just be in nature now. And so yeah, I hope that you know through the community, through the you know tools, whether it's books, online courses, videos, etc., whatever it is, that just more people can access that because that's a totally accessible, doable practice. Yeah. So Louise, enjoy as you're taking these skills on, and yeah, leaving behind the struggles with the squishy urge blob up there. Aryan, I said this past week, I've been getting a lot more fear of death obsessions compared to my usual relationship ones. I know it's all just brain stuff, but existential thoughts lead me to philosophy compulsions. As much as everything is brain stuff, like our you know feared consequences, they're all real. Like, and yeah, I'd say this for everybody. So yeah, you might have some kind of thought that you're like, oh, that's irrational. Like you might have an image in your head of an alpaca following on you while you're out in the mountains and crushing you and dying. And so you may say, oh, that's irrational. Alpacas don't fall on people that much. I'll be okay. So sure. But the fear of death, that's real. Like most of us will die. That is a thing that happens. And so as yeah, it's useful to see that when the brain is throwing up what we might call a theme, yeah, that stuff is usually just kind of made up stuff. But the brain is only thinking of the theme because of what it'll lead to. And that thing that it'll lead to, that's real. And these skills that we're exploring are in many ways about learning how to interact with those real fears. So like the fear of death. Being able to say, oh yeah, actually, I am afraid of death. So how do I want to live? And so do you want to live your life chasing around philosophy compulsions? Or recognizing that you're afraid of death, do you want to get out there and do some actions that are much more about living. Karen, you asked about how do I become a member of the YouTube subscription channel to watch the videos on sleep. If you go to, on a desktop usually, or an Android phone, because it's YouTube, you go to youtube.com/everybody has a brain/join. But also, if you just go to it in general, you might see a join button at the top. So subscribe is just to become a YouTube subscriber. That's free. And then if you can find the join button, that's the membership channel. It's not available in every country. But yeah, if you try on a desktop computer, going to youtube.com/everybody has a brain/join, yeah, if it's available in your country, it should show up. Zvet said, I want to thank you so much for everything that you're doing. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. It has been a tremendous help and changed my life in a very good way. Yeah, you're truly a real life hero. Oh, Svet, thank you so much. No, it's an honor, and it's really amazing, like genuinely, that yeah, to be able to share these skills, to connect with other people on this journey, that we can all come together and connect with each other. I think it's really amazing that there can be this group of us, this practice around the world of really learning how to have a brain and do the things we care about in life. So yeah, thank you. Oh, and Kieran, yeah, I see Dylan. Thank you so much, Dylan. Dylan shared the link in the chat there. Oh, and Carrie as well. Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah, you can find the link there. Some chorusing. Yeah, you said, thank you so much for your answer. And do you agree that we, like people on this channel, have some tendency to OCD behavior from birth, or it's purely learned behavior and can be unlearned? Well, like humans in general, like for instance, I think yeah, one of the really clear things, and so there's even I'll make a video on this probably this week or next week, because I posted an article maybe a couple of weeks ago on the research around intrusive thoughts. And what we find consistently in the research, this has been going on for years, really well documented. You're looking at 90% of humans have the kinds of intrusive thoughts that you'll often see people on OCD forums saying, oh, nobody can understand these thoughts I have, I'm so alone, etc. No, 90% of people have those thoughts. Multiple research studies in multiple countries have demonstrated this. Having horrible, violent thoughts, thoughts of like inappropriate, however you define inappropriate, taboo, etc. 90% of humans. 10%, so maybe 5% are working on mental health and fitness skills. The other 5% are lying. It's a human experience. The challenges arise from how we've naturally or learned how to react to these experiences. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff, one of the reasons I find acceptance and commitment therapy really useful and fascinating is that it in part developed out of linguistic theories. Because you think how you interact with thoughts in your mind is often with language. Yes, you have some natural tendencies to language, but you also had to learn that language. So it's one of the things that I'll often bring up when people say like, oh, these thoughts, whatever, are genetic. But then they describe the thoughts in a language. I'm like, did you, especially if people say, oh, I got this, so-and-so in my family has this as well. Yeah, so-and-so, whatever relative in your family, probably also speaks the same language as you, but they had to learn that. So yeah, of course, there's going to be some natural tendencies to control things, to chase certainty, to have experiences. Yeah, we are human. But how we learn to interact with experiences, is something we learned. And we can also learn new ways to interact with experiences. Michael, oh, speaking of learning, yeah, you said struggling to unlearn people-pleasing behaviors in conversation. Feels like in the moment I search for authentic feelings and words to no avail. How can I practice responding authentically? So actually, I was I was about to say in the previous sentence, you can see the goal, like to chase the clean feeling that's creating the compulsions. But then your question was more of the same compulsion. How can I practice responding authentically? The moment you could just swap in clean for authentically. So what if you don't have to respond authentically? What if you don't have to respond clean? Because the moment it's that kind of subjective judgment, the brain's just always going to tell you, that wasn't authentic enough, do it again. And then you just end up chasing it. Yeah, but also, so if you throw up a question like, what if you don't have to respond authentically? You're actually probably going to notice a fear there. So I'd also ask, yeah, what are you afraid of will happen if you're not clean, if you're not authentic? Oh, James shared here, what helps me with my OCD, I challenge myself with one small exposure that makes me uncomfortable per day. That sounds like a fun exercise, James. Yeah, you could really have a lot of fun playing around with. Dalal said, my compulsion is avoiding certain people. Sometimes it's easier than others. Why is it when I can't avoid, my intrusive thoughts grow and feel so real that I can't tell if it's actually my true thought? So yeah, there's a couple compulsions there. So even that idea of my true thought, so having a goal like that, like if you want to have a goal of what's my true thought, that's going to be part of it. So that's going to create, just like I want to have a clean thought, you're going to feel your thoughts are dirty. I want to have a true thought, you're going to feel like there's just going to be all these extra compulsions around it. He's like, oh, I don't know if these are my true thoughts or not. That is, you can already see the struggle that causes. But also, yeah, if you practice a compulsion like avoidance, right? So that's a compulsion. And so, yeah, if you don't practice your compulsion, whatever it is, you're typically going to notice a rise in, we could call it withdrawal, right? Compulsion, just like any addiction. So you don't do the compulsion, you're going to notice something uncomfortable. And so you're seeing it there. You don't do the avoidance compulsion, and the brain then is going to throw you more intrusive thoughts because it's craving the compulsion. Yeah, so it can help to take a step back from any of the topics of obsessions, anxieties. It really helped me to recognize my brain was just looking for basically a set amount of compulsions. It doesn't care what the topics are. It's just like, hey, give me the compulsion. And so if you cut out the compulsion, typically you notice a rise in unwanted experiences. Whatever unwanted experience typically gets you to do the compulsion. So yeah, if it's particular thoughts and you're like, I want to know if thoughts are true or real or authentic, then you cut out a compulsion, boom, you're going to have a rise in thoughts that get you questioning whether something is true and real. Geese, yeah, you said any tips on good rest activities when struggling with rumination? I take walks and meditate sometimes, but the head just keeps spinning. So it often does not feel like rest. Yeah, so I would approach rumination as something we do. So yeah, it's completely understandable that if we're spinning the machines in our head, that we're not resting. If we're spinning the machines in our head, we're also not meditating. Because yeah, if we're chasing around, like that's chasing around that stuff up there is the opposite of meditation. We're sitting down to meditate. We're actually practicing not doing stuff. All that controlling and checking and judging and time traveling in our heads. So one of the things I'd be curious about is, what do you do in moments during the day when you have free time, when you have a pause, when you're waiting for the bus, even when you're riding your bike, you're sitting in a meeting but you don't need to participate, you're watching some TV show. Are you choosing to do stuff in your head, planning stuff, reminding yourself of stuff, creating stuff up there? That's when we're teaching our brain to keep doing stuff. So if in any empty moment, we're like, oh, quick, I've got to scroll, I've got to do something, I've got to fill the space, then it's completely natural that our reflex in any other moment of pause is to keep doing stuff. So when I go to breakfast, or when I make breakfast, I'm staying in a hotel today, so I went to breakfast. And the reason I'm sharing this story, because I find it so fascinating. Because of course I'm alone. I have a great time being alone, and I was in there's of course a phenomenal breakfast and restaurant here, and I was sitting there, and then a couple came and sat at the table next to me, and I was so fascinated by how they both just sat on their phones. And I find that interesting because also, if I'm eating alone, I'm typically not on my phone. There are some times where I might say like, oh, okay, there's something I need to do during this meal break or so on. But in general, and this breakfast was no different, I do not go on my phone. If people, say, and they have any random moment, and even I've noticed here in Cusco, and this happens in lots of cities, but I have a secret ranking of cities where people walk on their phones. And that's, precisely because so many of those people who are like walking, navigating all sorts of things well on their phones, all of those people are then going to struggle, say if they sit down to meditate or something, with the brain continuing to scroll. I would just be aware of practices like that, because sometimes people just see it as like a thing that we should do, that it's a natural thing to do, to always be filling the space. But the consequence of that is that then anytime you have a spare moment, your brain will just default to scrolling in your mind. Are there opportunities in your life right now to not always be doing stuff? Yeah, Chris slays the math dragon. I think you're seeing some useful insights there around goals. Louisa, oh, you're welcome for the explanation of OCD not being chronic. You shared here, I'm also very curious about the irritability. I feel so bad when I get mad at my close ones, but I'm constantly very irritated. I think that's part of a healing journey. Yeah. So it's great you see that. It helped. This relates to, again, what I described about the brain wanting a set amount of compulsions. It was actually really useful for me to notice how irritable I would get when I was cutting out compulsions and recognizing irritability. What are we doing there? We're trying to control things. We're basically saying, this way this other person is acting right now, I wish they weren't doing that. I want them to be doing something else. And it helped me to expect that irritability, so I could also notice it then as my brain just looking for control. And so it's a great opportunity. I describe it as like kind of shrinking the space in our brain for compulsions. And we need to have that journey of shrinking it. And you're seeing how it's very naturally going to happen. So there might be a clear compulsion we cut out. Then because we're not doing that compulsion, the brain is going to crave more control. So it's just going to be really irritated about all sorts of things. And then we're also going to practice, I kind of think of it as kind of throwing up my hands. I'm not going to touch that. The brain's telling me to control something. And be like, no, brain, actually, maybe I even want more of that. If you notice something that's irritating you, you'll notice that pressure to fix it. Like one of the things I would do there, if I was irritated by something somebody said, rather than tell them it's wrong or avoid it or whatever, I might ask them another question, or I might just sit in the irritability in whatever way makes sense, because we're shrinking that urge in the brain to control. Yeah, so you're seeing that really insightfully, so enjoy playing around with it. Dylan. Dylan shared, in my mind, chronic would mean that something has lasted for a long time. For example, I have chronic pain that has lasted for over 6 years. But even then, who defines what's a long time? OCD definitely isn't permanent because it's all about actions we do. We don't have to do those actions. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dylan. Yeah, exactly. Like, there are many ways we could use chronic where we're just like, it's like a chronic condition, just meaning that it might be something that somebody struggles with for a long time. Or, yeah, again, that somebody could struggle with again. Because, yeah, we can absolutely go back into those same practices. Yeah. Oh, Louisa, thank you so much. Imant, absolutely. I hope you can go on all sorts of adventures in the future. Tarek said, I feel so stuck. I feel like I'm losing my selfhood. I don't know what do I believe or don't anymore. My main fear is going schizophrenic. And I read a whole lot about, actually, I'm not sure what that word means, but the reading a whole lot about it, those are the compulsions. Uh, you see there that you want to, yeah, live your life and do things and be yourself. That doesn't have to be about getting some kind of certainty. So when you say I feel like I'm losing myself, I don't know what I believe or don't anymore, it can help to see again those are those compulsions to get certainty. The fear of schizophrenia, of losing control of our minds and so on, comes up a lot. One of the more recent videos on my YouTube channel is about that fear of losing control. So I'd suggest checking that out, because it's our fear of not living our lives. But then if we start looking for certainty around who we are and am I being myself, we're only going to create more uncertainty, which is only going to fuel more fear of losing control of ourselves. So rather than chasing that kind of certainty, we recognize today, I get to be myself and live my life. So how am I going to practice giving to myself and to others, to my community today? And that's all I have to do. I don't have to get some certainty that it's the right way to be me. There are just actions I'm going to do and celebrate today. And that's enough. Heil, welcome. It's good to see you. You said, hey guys, I've been frantically trying to recover from OCD, and constant meditation, ERP therapy, curiosity took its grip away from me. Finally, it can take long, but recovery is real. Heil, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it's so natural. We at first that we're like, I've got to do all sorts of stuff. But then also doing lots of stuff is, yeah, really useful. There are a lot of things that are useful, like cutting out compulsions and exploring meditation and creating and learning new skills around curiosity. Yeah, there is so much that we can do. And so yeah, like it's so interesting to find that balance where we're not trying to clean away experiences, but also we are giving a lot of dedication to the practice of making changes. So yeah, that's fantastic, Kyle. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, and I see you left a message. Hey, Mark, we've missed you a lot. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we 2 weeks ago, the YouTube app wasn't working, and so we didn't have a live stream. And then yeah, this past week, I was up high up in the mountains, uh, saying hello to alpacas. I also saw some vicuñas, I think is how you say it. which are like the smaller wild member of the alpaca and llama family. I saw one group on, I guess it was maybe, yeah, the second to last day, high up in the mountains as the sun was setting. Oh, you know the animal I saw that I enjoyed so much? Chinchillas, wild chinchillas. So one, wild chinchillas live in chinchilla cities up in the mountains. So they would often be on the cold side of the mountain. So here, that's the south side. And so I guess they have the good fur coats to do that. But chinchillas are so cute. Yeah, everybody, I know we don't spend time researching things online, but it's okay to go and Google chinchillas. They have the cutest ears that kind of look like bunny ears, but they're stubby and rounder. And then they have these tails that shoot out from their back and then do this little turn at the end. So the tail is like completely straight and then has this kind of, if you think of a candy cane, their tails look like candy canes. So it's like straight and then there's this hook at the end, which is this kind of perfect round half circle. And they jump across the rocks and they're usually in groups, but they look like cartoon characters. And even how they move around looks like they're just doing scenes for Pixar movies or something. Because sometimes you'll see an open space, and then you'll see a group of chinchillas run across it. So the chinchilla cities are usually lots of boulders, because they'll kind of hide in the gaps and make burrows under the boulders, and they are so cute. So yeah, enjoy looking up chinchillas. Don't spend hours looking up chinchillas today, but like 2 or 3 hours maybe. But that was a joke. Don't do that either. Hi, I see you. Yeah, I have a message here. You said also I still kind of let myself get triggered. But choices, everybody. By Instagram posts that say OCD is chronic and you can just learn to cope with it. How can you elaborate without reassuring? Yeah, I think um, it's a great topic to bring up because again, on any of these health issues, even if the trigger or the theme, we can say, oh, okay, that's irrational or fine, I accept that or whatever. Yeah, there is a fear there that's real. We want to live our lives and we don't want to lose control of our lives. And I think that, yeah, the way I'll often approach it, say in a way that's not reassuring, is, yeah, saying like, it's completely possible to leave OCD, mental illness behind for good. But it requires changes. Like, we still have to practice having an experience, like feeling the brain go, oh, like I want to go check this right now. I want to go control this right now. We have to practice having that and not following it. And so that roots it back in our personal practice and what's accessible to us and the skills we learn. Also, the brain very much changes by us not engaging with that stuff anymore, by us really exploring these big fears and allowing them to be there. Yeah, the brain changes what it throws up. So yeah, my experience now, I was describing this on the YouTube members channel. Now my brain's version of an intrusive thought is actually to throw up like a good idea. Like I'll be out hiking, in nature, and my brain will be like, we should write a book about this. And especially after a couple of days of nothing, I mean, the brain just presents like a fully formed book. It's like, here's a complete book. Let's think about it. And I'll practice just saying, hey, brain, an alpaca could fall on us, on this hike and crush us. So I'm never going to write another book again. This hike is the last experience I get to have. So I'm not going to think and plan that book right now. I'm just going to enjoy looking at the chinchillas. So yeah, also the brain changes, but also I would say that's still the exact same brain. It's just like throwing up a thing saying, hey, hey, engage with me, let's control something. And it's still up to us to say, no, I'm not going to hit myself in the face with a frying pan. Because, yeah, today it may seem okay to obsess about a book. But tomorrow, the brain's going to be like, hey, hey, what if you lost your mind and got locked up in a psych ward? The same thing. The brain just throwing up something, trying to engage us and take us away from actually living our lives. So yeah, there is an element here of, even when we say like, yeah, OCD is not chronic at all. But yeah, it's still up to us to make those choices in those moments. Yeah. So it's yeah, we can make toast, but we can also burn toast. So how do we support ourselves in making delicious toast instead of burning our toast? Ah, yes. Dylan, you said, I think you mentioned at some point that you were planning to do some virtual workshops this year. Are those still in the works? Yes. I am about to change countries, and when I change countries, I'll book them in because in the next couple of months, it'll be possible for me to say, okay, I'm not doing any camping, I'm not moving around, and then I'll book it in. So yeah, we'll do an online version of the garden workshop. Yeah, thanks for remembering that. Yeah, Geese, you said, so when you practice not ruminating, what do you do instead? I get hooked so quickly, or I try really hard to not think, but it feels effortful. Yeah, yeah, you don't have to do anything. This world is really amazing. Simply being also is the thing we're most afraid of losing. If we're afraid of death, if we're afraid of, losing our minds, etc., we are afraid of losing ourselves. So we want to be. So we don't have to do anything. If we stop trying to do stuff, that is the goal we've been chasing. We want to live our lives, and we are living them right now. Second thing, yeah, it really helped me to explore not ruminating as not something that's effortful, but mindfulness, the opposite of ruminating, is lazy. Because when we're ruminating, we're doing stuff. We're like, I've got to control this. I've got to check this. Am I authentic? Am I being good? Am I, certain about how I feel? Like, what am I feeling right now? All of that kind of stuff. That's so much work. So exhausting. What if mindfulness is just being lazy? So the brain's going to throw up stuff. And we're like, I don't have time for that. I'm already being, and that's the thing I'm most afraid of losing. So I'm just gonna be, and that's enough. And so also meditation is a great way to explore that. We could look at meditation as that practice of simply being, and I don't need to do any extra things. And so yeah, maybe when you're exploring meditation, next time, I'd say this for everybody, next time you're sitting down to explore meditation, what if you explore it as the practice of being lazy, with things happening outside of you, with things happening inside of you? You could try to control it. You could try to check it. But why? Why do all the extra work? Naz. Oh, Naz, you said, I just starting to find your content and teaching. It's really life-changing. Thank you. Oh, Naz, thanks for finding it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Villain, thank you as well for the kind compliments. I appreciate the support. Michael, this is continuing on from the question about authenticity. You see, when I try to make it okay not to respond authentically in conversations, I struggle to square it with my practice around relationships. Example, I might be anxious before a social thing and set a goal around what I want to give. Like I'm going to give kindness, presence, listens to others. But then in a conversation, I freeze up and struggle to find kind words and presence. Yeah, so when you're looking at what you want to give, it really helps to make it of something really concrete, not an adjective. So an example that I found really useful, I practice this all the time. When I would go to a social event at first, I would just set a concrete goal, like I will give my attention to 3 new people. So, and it's not about getting into kind of like right attention or authentic attention or, some kind of perfect, clean thing. At the end of the night, it's just, did I meet 3 new people? Right? Do I remember their names? If I remember the names of 3 people, then I gave attention to 3 people. And that's where it ends. The moment you start going after like kindness, yeah, because what is kindness? Yeah, for some people, kindness, I don't know, maybe they're like, if somebody gives me donuts, they're kind. If that person didn't give me donuts, they're not kind. For somebody else, kindness might mean taking away their phone and throwing it out the window because they're like, oh, whew, that thing was causing me so many problems. Right? So we don't know what kindness is. Same with presence. If you go, I've got to be present. You can't not be present just because of physics. There is no scenario in which you are not present. Yeah, you may be doing some compulsions, but you're always present. And so the moment you introduce presence as a goal, I'll always encourage people not to use it as a goal because your brain will just judge you as not present enough. It becomes like trying to be clean. Yeah, we're all present. 100% of everybody joining the live stream today, like you can't not be here, wherever here is for you. Nomad. So what is the best way to cut out compulsions our brains like? My brain loves to revisit positive interactions I've had with people, but that also sets me up for revisiting negative interactions too. Yeah, first of all, Nomad, it's great you see that. Like I found it so useful to recognize like tons of the compulsions were things I liked. So often, one of the reasons people will keep struggling is because they'll just focus on things I disliked. And they'll even say like, oh, that doesn't cause me anxiety, so it's not a compulsion. Yeah, that's not what compulsions are about. As you've noticed, like going over positive interactions is exactly the same as going over negative interactions. So what helped me with that was because there were times when I would kind of do that on purpose. So there, I could explore exercises around knowing, okay, in these types of situations, I often do compulsions I like. So today I'm going to practice, in that situation, not doing the compulsion I like, just looking at time spent in head. Then in other situations, so like I was describing with the hike, excuse me, we could look at something like, oh, isn't it great to go and think about a book while you're hiking? So it helped me to see though, no, like that's just me, again, spending time in my head. So I would just set intentions. And I do this on these long hikes that I do now. I approach them like a meditation retreat. So a meditation retreat would be divided up into different activities. And so I would, purposely set a segment. Like for instance, if I knew we're about to do a hike over a pass and then we're going to get to lunch. So I'd say, okay, for this hike over the pass until lunch, I'm just going to practice noticing good rocks and chinchillas. And so anytime my brain would start to get into something, positive or negative, doesn't matter. I said, oh, like that's not actually what I'm doing right now. Right now we're on rocks and chinchillas. And then just gently bring my attention back to rocks and chinchillas. And so, yeah, it's that proactive setting the intention in advance. Because then if we start to spend time and energy in our heads, we can grab the little brain and bring it back to something more useful, like rocks and chinchillas. Louisa said, a huge one I just thought of. I used to drink a lot, but for the past 2 years, I have a panic fear of alcohol when I drink a glass of wine. I feel very anxious. Oh, does that mean I should never drink again? So an interesting kind of quirk of the adventure over the past years is that I've worked more with people on learning how to drink than I've worked on with people learning not to drink. And that's because the fear around drinking is really common anxiety. But then also people might have a lot of compulsions where they're like, oh, if I drink, like, then there's all these other compulsions that I have to do and things like that. Uh, so personally, I found it really interesting to explore like having drinks. So whether we look at it as like, who knows, like beer, wine, uh, scotch, whatever, to learn how to explore it mindfully, to learn how to. So one of the ways I started practicing early on was to go and get an interesting, unusual beer and practice having just one drink and really enjoying it, noticing the smell, the aroma, noticing the flavors, being interested in how it was made, where it was made, and so on, and enjoying just one. And that doesn't have to be an experience we only explore around things like alcohol, but even other foods, because I would just binge eat all sorts of things. So sitting down and enjoying one cookie can be a fascinating way to practice the skill as well. Oh, Delal, I'm glad you saw the fluffy alpacas. Yeah, I'll share more alpaca photos on the mental fitness Discord server. Chris slays the math training. He said, "How do you handle people saying mean things about you publicly on the internet?" So there it is. Like, what does handle mean to you? And do you have to handle it? Do you have to like, we'll pull up the clean anything towel? Yeah. Do you have to clean it away? Because people can say like whatever they want to say, just like the brain can say whatever they want to say. Do we have to handle it? Kuba, I used to try to get worthy by validation from other people for a long period of my life. It feels so risky each time I try to cut this out. My brain throws fear of losing control and going to extremes. This feels so real. How to approach this in a healthy way? I always ask people, what are you looking to get from others that you need to start giving to yourself? We struggle a lot when we're chasing this from other people. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. The challenge arises is that I see a tissue box over there on the table. The challenge arises that we're basically setting ourselves up where we say, my value and my worth depends on what this tissue box says about me. And then you're looking for that validation. I guarantee you this tissue box does not know that I expect to validate my entire existence based on the feedback it gives me. Other people don't know that either. Other people looking for validation from other people is no different than looking for validation from a tissue box. In the validation you're looking for, there might actually be something that's useful for you. But what if you gave that to yourself? What if you celebrated you every day? And I think this relates, we could say, Chris, to the question about, what if people say mean things about you on the internet? Like looking at the start at why would there be an expectation that that person on the internet or that tissue box on the internet, was important to something about you? Does that make sense? And we could explore that later too on the mental fitness Discord server. Yeah, Dalal said here, wow, I've never seen it like that. That the brain can throw up a good thought, and we do the same compulsion. Both are feeding the problem. Yep, it's not about whether it's good or bad, rational, irrational, anxious, or feels whatever. No, it's the interaction. So if we're spinning our wheels around it. Oh, and Karen, thank you so much for joining the YouTube membership channel. Welcome. Yeah, if you have any questions about the sleep videos, yeah, you can just add them under those videos. Imaze. He said how to not engage in the moment when the anxiety is spiking, when you're meeting people, etc. So I'd be curious to ask you, why do you engage? So what right now feels necessary about that? I think I actually got, when I was out hiking, I think my lips got kind of sunburned. I think I was trying to protect them, but I didn't have like proper like lip sunscreen. And when you're at that altitude, the sun actually makes pictures and like videos and things like that weird because you're so high and like so close to kind of like the radiation that yeah, even pictures like look odd. But also, I would just constantly putting on sunscreen because it's so easy to get burned. GU said, all I've been struggling recently with intrusive thoughts during intimacy, and I feel contaminated, like I'm attracted to the very things I don't want to be, and I feel really stuck. Any ideas? Yeah, so anytime we're struggling with any kind of theme, one of the things I always suggest to people is to see it as the outcome. And what I mean by that is, say, for example, I'm trying to get certainty about lots of things in my life, and I see that as good. And so even if I'm trying to do a lot of things and I see it as good when I do those things and I don't have a thought, I don't have a bad thought, or even I'm doing things, nobody interrupts me, I'm sitting down to write, there's no noise. If I'm constantly teaching my brain that things are good when there's no bad stuff, my brain is then going to logically extend that everywhere. And then the brain says, oh, when you're intimate, that's important to you. So therefore, it must also be good if there's no bad stuff. So here's some bad stuff. Clean it away, and then you're going to feel good. The brain is just following on from what it's learned. That, hey, we should get rid of bad stuff in situations that are important to us. So I'd be curious, that's an example. I'd be curious if you look at the pattern you dislike around intimacy, and we look at that as the outcome, then look back through life. Where did the brain learn that pattern? That there shouldn't be something in some kind of important or good situation. Also, I look there, what is the fear? Like what's wrong? Like when you go, I'm attracted to the very things I don't want to be and I feel really stuck. What is the fear there? Why can't there be like any random thoughts or noises or whatever during intimacy? What's going to happen if you're, attracted to the things that are not you? Right? What is that fear there? Because that fear also is going to point you at other areas in life where the brain learned, hey, this is really important. We got to make sure like we have certainty and control over our identity. Yeah. So some things to explore there. David is going to enjoy some lazy meditation. Oh, blessed. He said, I feel like I know you personally because I've watched so much of your videos. Yeah, it's a fascinating phenomenon, right? Because I'll meet people. So I'll meet people in real life, but people who will watch the videos, right? And so it's just weird because when I'll meet somebody, they have spent time with me in difficult situations, but I haven't spent time with them. So yeah, it's a really special experience here because people, it's amazing to have that opportunity to create resources that people can connect with in really difficult times in their lives. But then also, yeah, sometimes I have to remind people like I was not actually there, so I don't know you. Whereas they may really feel much more familiarity with me. But no, so it's great. But also, yeah, I actually I don't know anything about you. Oh, Geese, thank you so much. Karthik said, what if we do all the hard recovery work and still can't enjoy peace because some illness affects us in the future? So if somebody was struggling with that, I would say they haven't done the hard recovery work, because these are practices. I would say these skills, you know, even I was sharing about this just yesterday. The world is in a time of extreme change and turbulence. These skills that we explore are precisely to help us navigate difficult, uncertain experiences. Mental fitness skills, aligning our actions with our values, these are precisely for difficult, uncertain experiences and times. These are for learning how to handle our own challenges so that we can engage in our communities, so that we can help others, so that we can grow things that are beneficial to our communities and those around us. That's what these skills are for. If somebody says that I did all of this hard work, oh no, it was ruined because there was a challenge, that is like somebody saying, oh no, I went into the gym and there were weights. Oh, what was the point of exercising if now I have to lift heavy things? So I think, nah, that's not. Then they haven't done the work. Yeah, these skills are precisely so that we can handle challenges, so that we can be ourselves while handling challenges. And so, yeah, in the future, many of us will experience things like illness, things like natural disasters. We'll experience things like war. We'll experience things like revolutions. And these skills are to help us navigate these kinds of disruptions. Use your skills. We don't want to go to the gym and do tons of squats and then not use our glutes. Naz, say what to do when having anxiety, when you go to chase your dreams, or even when you lose someone, like a relationship. It seems a huge loss, and your brain gives you reasons to go chase them. I'm new to this. That's why I'm asking. We can experience loss. So I think, Naz, what you're picking up on is actually really important. I'll often describe how underneath whatever fear, so we'll look at, so usually there'll be some what we'll call themes, which are like superficial fears, like, yeah, what if I lose my mind? And then underneath those, there's some what sometimes people call core fears, or I'll describe them as feared consequences. So these big fears like being rejected, not living my life, dying. There's just a couple under there. But then I say underneath those, there's just some fundamental unwanted experiences that we dislike. And I always find just two of them. One of them is physical discomfort. We do not like pain. We do not like physical discomfort. And the other one is loss. We are afraid of losing things. We do not like feeling that loss. It's not about reassuring ourselves we won't lose things. It's not about telling ourselves it'll be okay. I find it's actually about touching that loss. So you touched on it there. Yeah, like we may chase our dreams. We may do everything we've ever wanted to do, and we might lose it. And it's useful to touch that and explore that and say, yeah, we don't have to feel good about it. We can touch that loss, and also we can say, yeah, I might lose everything tomorrow. So what am I going to do today to live my life? I don't want to spend it on compulsions. I don't want to spend it chasing around uncertainties. We can lose things. So let's live right now. DP. Yeah, he said mindfulness is one of those terms that I think people have different definitions for. I meditate often. I'm still not sure what mindfulness is. Yeah, I've seen even somebody asked a question recently about ICBT. And if you go into the ICBT documentation, they have, at least on their one website, there was this document I found, and it was comparing ICBT and mindfulness. But the way it described mindfulness was totally not any uh, ex- uh, teaching of mindfulness that I was familiar with. It was almost like they were, and we've seen this with other acronyms too recently, where they just present mindfulness as something ridiculous just to differentiate themselves. Mindfulness, John Kabat-Zinn has, I think, I will combine two definitions here. John Kabat-Zinn has a definition of mindfulness. I'm not going to remember the exact wording, but mindfulness is the practice of awareness of the present moment without judgment, I think. And that's a paraphrasing. It's not the exact definition. Yeah, so being aware of what's in the present moment without attaching judgments to it. And I would combine that with the approach in Zen, which you might say simply, and it's similar, seeing things as they are. So contact with reality without these like judgments and wrong perceptions that we attach to things. Thich Nhat Hanh has a quote that, again, I'll paraphrase because I won't get it right, but he would often write about our perceptions, our judgments, as the root of suffering. That we take the experience of reality and then we slap these wrong judgments on them. We slap all this extra baggage on it. And so mindfulness is the practice of being in touch with reality without all of this extra junk we so often attach to it. That's how I would approach it. United, you said, why is it that people who develop OCD take the thoughts seriously, whereas people who don't develop totally ignore the same thoughts? Yeah, so that's a compulsion. Yeah, and even what I was just describing there with mindfulness, you'd see this practice of suffering, and so it's across the board. It's not just OCD, because we look at that quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. We create suffering by attaching importance to this stuff and inventing a bunch of meanings and things like that. And so that's very much a human struggle. In particular ways, when people do it, we label it as OCD. But when we look at traditions like Buddhism, for example, there's a recognition that this has always, for thousands of years, been the struggle that creates so much suffering for people is, as you described, kind of taking brain stuff seriously. Chris, so what if people saying things can have a negative consequence in your career? For example, my classes can get canceled if the enrollment is low due to having bad reviews. So something like that is possible, but we could say that for anything. Right? Like the brain's always going to be saying, what if this bad thing happens? What if that bad thing happens? So we look at what we want to grow and invest in growing that. There's going to be a video coming up. I'm working on it at the moment on the fear of getting canceled, which is kind of this. It comes up very often now. Just like anything, because we can also say, what if an alpaca attacks you on the street tomorrow? It is also possible. And then you would have to cancel your classes because you're in the hospital because the alpaca attacked you. There are lots of bad things we can think of could happen. So how are we going to build community and support in our lives that will enable us to navigate these kinds of challenges? Like alpacas attacking us in the street. Which, just to be fair, very, very rare. Alpacas are kind. A llama would totally attack you. I learned something with hand signals recently, that how to describe, so this is a llama, and this is an alpaca. Because alpacas kind of have like a cute smushed in face, and their ears are a bit, they're not as long and floppy. But llamas have long faces and tall ears that often around here in Cusco are decorated. But you can't really decorate an alpaca's ear. Sinkorsi. Thank you for the kind words. Enjoy living. You asked about the meditation link. But the Discord we keep private. So if you send me a message, just share about what you want to share with the the mental fitness Discord community, I'll share you the invite link. And then on the Discord, you can, and so even one of our members, our moderators, just created a new schedule for the meditation. And if you go to events, you can find the schedule for all the meditation times. And that moderator does such a fantastic job of figuring out all of the time zones because we're all spread around the world. And so the graphic in the events channel shows you all the different time zones. H, thank you for taking me on the walk later today. I hope you get some time with just nature too. Golf in the soul. He said, would you say this work essentially comes down to following your values? If someone is always following their values and building stuff they care about, then they won't have time to do compulsions, etc. Yeah. And it's really broad, right? It's looking at following our values inside our heads as well as outside of our heads. But yeah, in any situation with any kind of difficult, uncomfortable feeling, it's really about starting to say, what do I want to give? What do I want to grow? Rather than defaulting to those old habits that create so many challenges for us. And Sigcorsi, you said, and the last question, with the sounds that I hate, should I search more for these sounds and experience them to teach the brain they're not that bad? So I struggled with misophonia and like sensitivity to sounds too. And so I shared a video over on Instagram. It's down now, though, I think, because it was just a question in the stories. And so, yeah, there were two things. With misophonia, so if it's misophonia, with that, I would hear the bad sound or whatever and like have a physical reaction. And so with that, it was useful to explore changing the compulsions I had around unwanted physical experiences. And then in other situations where I would say it was just sensitivity to sound, that was where I would see the sound more as like they were contaminating experiences. So there, I found it was useful to seek out the sounds on purpose while doing actions I valued. So one of the exercises I did to work on this was because I had, this idea that if I was creating something important, like I was writing something, it had to be perfect, everything around me. So there I practiced going to busy places like mall food courts and writing. And so practicing then, having the contamination, the sound, and doing the thing that was important. It depends on what kind of sound situation you're looking at. But it can be fun to do some exercises with sounds. Kind of have the bad sound with you. While changing the interaction, right? Because again, thinking about like compulsions also being like judgments we have, like, oh, that's so annoying and they shouldn't be doing that. And like, oh, I wish it sounded different. And that's all compulsions. Random TV. I said, I've been having this obsession related to looking at people's eyes. Everyone's eyes look off abnormal to me. This has just become how I naturally view people's eyes. What could help with this? So just the number one thing I would look at there, I had compulsions around eyes too. And what you're describing there, I would define as a compulsion. So the way I started working on this was actually to go to places that were busy and really notice my brain trying to like get me to check eyes and choosing to look at something else. So I would identify, and there's like a plant over there, because that's often what I would do is say, okay, I'm going to walk down this busy street and look at plants. And then inevitably when somebody would pass by, my brain would be like, you gotta check, like make eye contact with them. And then when I would do that, I would choose to look at a tree in the opposite direction. So really shifting back that control and choice to us. And so starting to not to check it, because when you do that, there's probably going to be some uncertainty there. Like you described their eyes as looking off, but that's not a thing that exists. And so why would you even want to find their eyes look right? So if we say, oh, there's no such thing as eyes looking right or on or off or whatever, why does that feel bad to you? what feels risky about that? And you might not know the answer to that until you actually go and practice not looking. And then the brain's going to be like, whoa, why aren't you checking that? And then it's going to throw you some other intrusive stuff. Artemis, you said, I realized I unconsciously value my ability to anticipate problems, but it leads me to look for problems where there are none. How could I change this value? Well, it's great to see that. Like I was talking about before, we usually have goals. We just don't kind of see them as goals. So if we have this goal of like, I should not have problems, then of course we're always checking for problems and always finding problems. But you see that now. So what's a more useful goal to you? Dylan, thank you so much for the donation. Oh, Dylan, actually, and like, thank you so much for helping moderate today. But actually, I immensely can't express, how much I appreciate the support. Yeah, not only helping moderate today, but also the donation. So thank you. I really appreciate you being here today. David, I see you share making a description of mindfulness, please. Yeah, well, there's a lot of things on the to-do list. Naz, you said, how do we find our deep rooted core beliefs that hinder us? So I would say they're not going to be that deep. So for me, I find that the same patterns and situations in my life, but different people and time. So I just noticed that. But as you mentioned, how do I get to find that core beliefs that create the circumstance? Yeah, I just wouldn't look that deep. So the exercise I share in my book is like when, give yourself a week and just notice as you do things, you kind of ask like, oh, why do I believe I needed to control that, or I needed to say that, or I needed to get that? And don't expect them to be super deep. They're often like that gets us into this like digging, but they're usually pretty simple and on the surface. David, please do not fight the alpacas. C. Dinger, I said huge fan of your videos. They help out a lot. Thanks for joining today. I'm glad the videos have been useful. Aaron, you said, what about intuition and one's sense of wisdom? A lot of times I ignore those two faculties, trying to be mindful and then they happen. I don't know exactly what you mean, but I think this is a topic you've had compulsions around before, right? Mina's got a camera. Said, how can we distinguish between values and safety behaviors? Oh, I'm not. So there's maybe, I don't know how you're describing those two things, but the way this, I think, will address what you're asking about there. I ask people how to make cookies well. If we're making cookies well, we're also going to address any kind of safety issues. Rather than if we just focus on, right, like you don't make good cookies by saying, okay, so today we have to make sure we don't have rocks in the cookies, and we have to make sure, well, we've got to do mercury testing to make sure there's no mercury. Oh, but then we should also do lead testing. There could be some contaminants in the food, so we should run all of the ingredients through some testing there. And well, we also have to make sure an alpaca doesn't walk in later and interrupt us while we're cooking them. But then what if the power goes out while we're baking them? Or it could be the gas, but then if we're using a gas oven, what if there's a leak and it explodes? And you can quickly see how if you are just focused on what are all the bad things that could go wrong with cookies, you will never make cookies. But if you say, how do you make delicious cookies? Well, yeah, they don't include any of those things. Right? You're not going to have rocks in your cookies. That's not a delicious cookie. So values address safety concerns because values are about asking, how do I create something well? So they will be part of it. If we're looking at how to do a thing well, if we're looking at what we want to give, we will address everything to do with safety. Kuba, he said, I find lowering the bar and quitting seeking exact type of recognition breaks the cycle to an extent. Yeah. I'd love to discuss it further on the server sometime. I will head for a run soon. Oh, I look forward to the discussion. Cool. Have a good run. Tom, yeah, he said, is misophonia associated with OCD? So often they're kind of discussed separately, but I found it exactly the same. And I do not struggle with misophonia anymore. And that was about cutting out compulsions. But it really helped me to see it wasn't about sound, it was about physical experiences, because the sound would create that like really terrible physical sensation. So I think we've messed up with how we approach misophonia by making it more about sound. And then you'll find on a lot of misophonia support groups, they're just about practicing compulsions. So I think it would be more helpful if it was recognized as just being a set of compulsions. Because yeah, if you see a misophonia like Instagram channel, it's all about like, here's a good noise canceling set of headphones. Like it's all about avoidance. Yeah, that wasn't helpful. Getting over misophonia was about cutting out compulsions. And then, yeah, Tom, as you said there, my therapist told me that it isn't. Yeah, so often it's approached as separate. I didn't find that useful. For me, it was very helpful to approach misophonia as a set of OCD compulsions. Oh, TPM5, I really appreciate the kind words. No, really, really enjoyable. It's like a really enjoyable career, and yeah, a special honor to get to, connect with people around the world on these adventures, because so often we haven't had a lot of good information and support, especially from like a lived experience perspective of like, what's it like to actually like really have these experiences, and what's it like to really get over them and cut out these compulsions. So I think it's so important that we talk about that. Billy, yeah, you have a question about meditation or medication there. I did not take any medication, any psych meds, and I don't. Yeah, that's something to discuss with your doctors. So random. Yeah, you said it makes sense, but obviously I would have to look at people at some point every day. I'm just wondering how I can start looking at things normally. So no, that's the compulsion. So one of the things you can do is allow yourself to not look normally. The judgments of how people's eyes look, those are compulsions too. So yeah, you can also find opportunities to practice looking at people and not doing those judgments about that looks right, that looks off, and so on. But that's also a practice you can explore more broadly. It's very likely that you do judgments in other areas. So, like I was talking about before, like seeing this as the outcome. So the brain's learned, hey, eyes are supposed to look right, just like all this other stuff's supposed to look right or wrong. And it's just engaging in a reflex. So it can also be really beneficial to explore non-judgment skills. Because yeah, they are compulsions. They become like reflexes, but they are compulsions that we do. And we are going to wrap up shortly. And yeah, Bill, you said, did you answer my Adderall question? I missed it. I said that I'm not going to answer it because yeah, it's a question about medication. I did not take any medication. I do not have any opinion. But Billy, you can see by you posting even just these comments, there are definite compulsions you have there. So you also have an opportunity to cut out compulsions. And everybody, we're going to wrap things up. And I got to the end of questions right at like 1:59 on the clock. We have one more, it looks like. And Billy, if you ask the same question one more time, you're just going to get banned from the chat. Asking these questions repeatedly for reassurance is an example of a compulsion. So regardless of what you decide to do with medication, you've still got compulsions there to cut out. Andrew, you said, I recently decided to single-mindedly clean my room and get rid of a bunch of stuff, but I afterwards felt really anxious and depressed. I think that pacing is important, learning to go slow. it can be really enjoyable to go slow. We feel this pressure from our brain. Given that example just now, like I've got to get an answer. And yeah, it can be fun to help our brain see like, yeah, we don't have to chase after that pressure. That can be something maybe everybody explores this week. Yeah, when you notice that pressure from the brain, like you got to get this thing, you got to get whatever right. What if you said, hey, yeah, I don't have to follow that pressure. I don't have to do that. David, thanks for stopping by. Shjar, the kind words. Thank you. Lyle, you said, do I have a medical license? No, not at all. So this is a peer support. That's the whole point of it. That what was really missing in mental health was something like personal fitness trainers in physical fitness. We need to talk about the practice of implementing these skills, and build community around how we apply these skills. And so yeah, that's very much take what we explore here as coming from personal experience, and you're going to have your own personal experience, just like with physical fitness. And so we're sharing and building that toolkit of exploring the very real human experience, to have the squishy urge blob in our heads and to do more of the things we value. And with that, we will wrap things up. Thank you so much, everybody, for stopping by. It's amazing, again, that we can come together from all around the world and build these skills together. Aaron, I see shared. Thank you. You helped my son a few years back, and he's doing really well now. Oh, Aaron, thank you so much for sharing that. That is fantastic. I'm so glad that we could connect on this journey, and your son is doing well now. Everybody, have a great start to the week. Enjoy bringing your brain along for the ride as you do these things you really care about. So thank you so much, everybody. We will return in 2 weeks to see how everybody's doing for Brain Tech Support Live. Thank you so much as well to everybody who donated today. I really appreciate the support, and I look forward to hearing about how everybody's adventures are going when we get together again. And absolutely, if you want to join the Mental Fitness Discord server, send me a message on Instagram or through my website, and watch out for falling alpacas, but of course not in a controlling, anxious way. Thanks, everybody.